Usually get a hunk of Asian pear stuck in my throat because I don't like to swallow it because it tastes bad.
Maybe your worst take on food.
I don't think it is.
Besides your pickle conundrum.
I also don't like pickles. That's
it's
true.
Insane.
But it's not insane. It's quite sane.
No, it's insane.
I think that the pickles are disgusting. We're moving past that. Let's get to these Asian pears. Pyrus pyrifolia, it's a scientific name. They're tasteless. They're hard and they crunch. And an apple is the same, but at least an apple's got a flavor to it.
That's the whole point.
I know, but like, if the whole point, if you're like, I don't know.
They're not. First of all,
what's the point?
I have to interrupt. This is fake news. They're not flavorless. They have a subtle, sweet flavor.
So
I won't have you slandering them with falsities.
It's just not good.
Secondly, yes, I would not call them crunchy. I would call them crispy. The one I just had was a little underripe, so it was pretty crunchy.
Crispy.
But ideally, they're crispy. They should not be like ripe, like a Barrett pear or whatever.
Bartlett.
Yeah. They're not like, they shouldn't be soft and mealy. They should be firm.
Yeah, but mealy also not good. I agreed. Mealy is not
I know there is like
no
a
one
perfect, like a perfectly ripe pear, like a Bartlett pear is great. But that is not an Asian pear. Asian pears are meant to be eaten when they are firm and you bite into them and they just explode with pear juice.
But they don't, because it's tasteless. It's just like it's like a diluted tea of juice. Like, it's not the taste. It's like you get a tea and you put your tea bag in it and it's really strong, and then like you do that 5 times. The last time it's just like a hint of tea. That's what I think of Asian pear.
Here's my thing
juice.
With somebody who doesn't like a food. They're like, "Oh, I hate those. They're always like this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay.
Good point.
No. So, but the paradox here, Casey, pay attention to me. The paradox here is that if you don't like something, you don't eat it often.
Yeah.
But maybe the ones you've had, you don't like. Maybe the Asian pears you have had were not good Asian pears. So you say, oh, I don't like these. They're yuck.
It's almost like confirmation bias.
Yes. And so
kind of thing.
And so you continue to not eat them because the few you've had are bad. But then out there, sleeper agents, these pears sitting in grocery stores
that are just looking at you being like, if you only bit into me.
Yes, exactly. They're amazing, but you will never know because you're too close-minded.
Or it just happens that those sleeper agents are the exception to the rule. So yes, they could be found, but am I going to go through 10,000 duds until I find that one that's good?
You think a good version of something is an exception to the rule?
If the rest of them are all bad, no, because you can't say Asian pears are good if every 30th Asian pear is good. That's like, that doesn't quite get you.
Some I will grant you, some fruits have a high ratio. A low ratio, maybe.
And this is not one of them, is what you're saying.
Well, that it takes you have to really find the right one among many, right?
I'm adding in
apricots are the same way.
For February of next year.
You're kidding.
Pears.
That's great.
I don't know which one I'm going to do. So we could do all of them. We could do. I have an idea of what I want to talk about, but it actually is better to talk about plums in this case. It's a whole different thing. Oh, you know what? We're gonna do pears first. This is gonna be Asian pears suck. That's the name of this episode that I'm writing.
You know what?
Asian pears suck.
I upload the episodes and I get to review the metadata.
Oh yeah.
There's no chance in hell.
You don't review the metadata.
I create the metadata. God damn it.
You are Alex Zuckerberg.
What's up, Fungal Associates? Welcome to Completely Arbortrary. I'm keeping all that in.
What?
Welcome to Completely Arbortrary. It's the podcast about trees and other related topics. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Alex Crowson. And of course, we have the pear hater, Casey Clapp.
I will stand in defense right now because no, I am not. I, in fact, buy apples as a part of a CSA share to specifically eat the pears. And I eat the apples because they're there too.
Sorry, Asian pear hater.
Yes, thank you.
You only hate them because they're Asian.
You
Interesting.
only hate them because they're Asian.
Very interesting.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you know what? Someone's going to take that soundbite someday and hold it against me when I'm running for president or something. And I'm like, listen to this guy.
Like Obama reading that book where he says the N-word.
They just cut it, repeat it.
Well, hi, Case.
Hey, Alex.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. February 6th, we're going to be talking about the Asian pear.
That's exciting.
And then on February the 13th, we're going to be talking about the naming of the plum. Well, kind of. We're just going to be talking about plums.
Wow, like the taming of the shrew.
Yes, exactly.
His
yes.
follow-up.
Oh, no, thank you. No, it's the taming of the plum. Once we get to 2, that means we need a third thing, and that's 2 fruit trees.
Yeah.
So we're going to have at least one more fruit tree to make it into a bona fide series.
Well, you know what, Casey? We have a long list of listener requests.
That's right, we do.
Which dovetails perfectly into TRL. This being the 3rd episode of...
That's true. That's
or 4th episode, I think. This is Trees Request Live. And we have looked at your requests from hundreds of emails and DMs, and we have compiled a master list of this is every tree that everyone wants to hear about.
Yes.
And we have selected a fair few for this month, Casey.
Yes.
Well, Casey, before we get to this week's tree, we have a few pieces of news.
Yes, we
that
do.
We're going to go through quickly. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time because we did chat about pears for the first 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Well, it turns out you kept that in. Okay, we got 30 seconds each.
Okay, I'll talk about the first one. Hats. Hats are live on the website, arbortrarypod.com/merch, ARBORTRARY, pod.com/merch. Get yourself an Arbortrary hat. They are awesome. We're doing a pre-sale.
Yes, because Alex, we sold out.
Yeah, can you believe it?
So all those folks who got in there early, good job.
Yeah, those were our Premium members that had early access to the hat. So yeah, go get yourself a hat. There are 3 colors and 3 designs of patches, and you can mix and match. So if you want that color with that patch, or this color with those patch, that patch, this patch.
I want all the patches on one hat.
Wow.
Too much.
You can't do that, unfortunately.
Can't do it.
But they're on our website, on our merch store. Go grab yourself a hat. Gosh darn it. They're awesome.
We have a pre-sale. It's until the 15th of November.
Yeah. And then we'll be placing our order with our manufacturer.
Exactly.
And then we will ship them to you.
And then we'll ship them to you.
Yep. Now is your turn.
Yes, everyone. I am excited to tell you again about a book that I did not write entirely, but I contributed to, and I want you to go buy it because it's beautiful. I just got the kind of the very first author editions, I guess, that they provide, and it's spectacular. It is a book called Tree, Exploring the Arboreal World. It's on the show notes for this. It's going to be up on the website as well, so you can check it out. Also, we have a newsletter, and that's going to be sent out on that. It's going to be sent out on mine, but essentially, Phaedron Press reached out and they said, hey, we want to put together this book. It's all about trees. And they asked me to help be a contributor in the sense of making sure that what was their list of trees they wanted.
Yeah.
And so it was like this huge list, and I helped them narrow down the best ones and then wrote probably about 15 or 20 of the little blurbs kind of about it. So I'm technically listed as a contributing author and on their like technical advisory committee.
Wow.
So it was a huge, big effort. It's just a spectacular book of just these beautiful like art from across the millennia, across the continents, all the world. It's really great. Highly recommend it.
Fabulous.
So go pick up a copy. Go pick up a copy?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good right now, Case.
It really does, yeah.
It could use a boost. Well, Casey, let's get to this week's tree.
Let's do it.
This week, I was shocked when I read this.
Yeah, I think you had to read it. You read it to me a few times.
Mm-hmm. Here's this joke that I told you earlier. Gosh, Casey, I see this week's tree is called the Giant Stinging Tree. Is that a typo? Because I think it should be the Giant Stinging Bee. An animal that famously has a stinger.
You're so naive.
Are insects animals?
They are, yes.
Okay, cool.
I really hope that you put a laugh track in there during the editing process.
Yeah.
Live studio audience laughed. I think we should at least, give them credit.
It's one more step that I'm willing to take for that. But
that's fine.
That's okay.
Yes, that is right, Alex.
The Giant Stinging Tree, and this is...
Yeah, can you get this one?
Dendrocnidae.
Okay, yeah. I like that.
Excelsa.
I actually think that's probably a better pronunciation. I used to just end it with "ide," like dendrocnide.
Sure, I was going with the Greek there.
Well, you should, because that is the etymology of this.
There you go.
It is from the ancient Greek for tree nettle.
Nettle. And I know of nettles as something that sting you.
Precisely. This is, in every way, a tree version of a stinging nettle.
Wow.
Is that not horrific? Yeah.
What a glow up.
Yeah, it's wild. It's really a stunning tree. And it was brought to you today by Stephen Keller.
Stephen Keller recommended this tree. Well, hey, everybody. We're talking giant stinging tree. It's got to happen after a break. We'll be right back with Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. Today we're talking the giant stinging tree. You heard that right. This is Dendrocnidae excelsa. Casey.
You ready?
Let's imagine that you and I are strolling through the Tartarus, which is, of course, one of the levels of Hades.
Oh, wait, is that true? Tartarus?
Yes, Tartarus. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Or Tartarus. Mm-hmm. And we come across some giant stinging trees. Let's ID this tree.
Let's do it, Alex. So the easy way that I have found to identify this tree, you walk through anywhere here in in North America, Europe as well, and you find a nettle. For those of you who are unfamiliar, you haven't been walking through let's say a somewhat lowland area, kind of swampish, not too wild, not too crazy, maybe a little bit of disturbance, some lighter canopy over the top, not old growth forest.
Okay.
And you're just like hanging out, you walk through and you get zapped on your arm by something. You're like, wow, what is it? It's kind of like fades up slowly, so it doesn't feel exactly like an insect is like biting you, or you got a sting from a bee or something like that. A wasp usually, or a yellow jacket. You're just like, oh, you just kind of get this like low burning sensation. And you think to yourself, God damn it, that was a nettle. I just got attacked by a stinging nettle.
Now, clarify something. Well, by the way, I jokingly said we're in Hades, but I was pretty close. We're in
Eastern Australia.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I gotcha. You I'll cut that out. They love that down there.
They love that.
So, Casey, when you say stung,
yes.
It's like you brush up against something and it's sharp, or it has some sort of like poisonous, some sort of like itchy scratchy.
This is a great question.
Okay.
This is a great question. Put a pin in that.
Oh, wow.
For later. So that's how you would recognize a nettle, right? Like you get zapped by it and you'd say, you suck.
Yeah.
Then when you look at that plant, you'll see this kind of tall little thing that's growing up, and it'll be about, I think the highest that I've ever seen has been maybe, I don't know, 6 feet, 8 feet.
This is the shrub nettle?
This is the shrub. Yeah, it's not even a shrub, it's an herb. It's a legitimate, like, herbaceous perennial.
Okay.
And then imagine that as a gigantic 110-foot tree.
Now we're talking.
That's
really cool.
It's crazy.
And it's kind of not ironic, but it's funny. It plays into that whole, like, everything is like bigger and scarier in Australia.
100%.
Yeah.
And like 90% of the articles about it are, if the alligators, spiders, and snakes don't get you, don't walk into the forest, because the trees are not going to get it.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is a giant tree, but it's also short-lived. It reminds me a lot of what the alder does here in the Pacific Northwest, where it grows next to disturbances. It grows in forest clearings, wherever a new kind of forest is popping up, this early succession kind of thing. That is where you're going to find this tree. So it grows right next to roads. It grows next to paths. It grows next to anywhere that is clear so that you can walk through it, which is the funniest thing to me, because it is a tree that is designed, might be the only best way to put it, to hurt us really badly. And it grows only where we happen to be always trying to go, because it's the clearest way. So this is how this tree grows. So you'll find it here, but it is analogous, I think, to the red alder in almost every way, because it grows up very quickly. It has wood that is wood, in a technical sense. It's a legitimate, like, it makes secondary xylem. It's a tree in every way that an arborist would say it's a tree.
Okay.
It, though, is short-lived. It lives fast and dies young and falls apart. Its wood decays very quickly. It's just not the kind of tree that you expect to last in an old growth area. It's a cottonwood. It's a birch. It's one of those, let's grow up, grow fast, put all of our little fruits out there, and then die.
But it grows big.
It grows big, 110 feet big. That's like 35 meters.
So how fast does it grow?
I don't know. I haven't found anything that says exactly how fast it grows.
I'm thinking, I guess whenever you say it grows fast, I'm imagining like faster than any tree could possibly grow.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
know,
Maybe a foot or two a year.
See, that's not that fast. I can go way faster than that if I run.
Yeah, that is true. You could probably beat this tree on a foot race. It's
true.
Yeah, I think
it's not that fast.
No, it's not that fast. Honestly, no, you changed my whole perspective about this tree. But I used to think it was cool.
Sorry, Case. I will say it does look like a giant weed.
Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah, and that I think honestly I think that speaks to it. Though it makes me think that we're just biased to kind of where it's coming from. Like, I described it as a gigantic nettle, which it in every possible way is.
Yeah.
But if you didn't know that and you just looked at the trunk, you would be stunned because it is a huge rainforest tree. With giant buttressing bases, and it creates these like long buttresses that come out that are kind of skinny, like all of the other gigantic old forest trees that have that same very classic rainforest buttressed base, you know?
Wow.
So it looks like this gorgeous rainforest tree. And if you get close, the bark is kind of this grayish yellow kind of color, and it has all these little like bumps on it. So it looks smooth, but it has like this kind of bumpy, rough kind of texture to it. Then, as you are walking through, you're inevitably going to find a smaller little baby that has these leaves popping out. And, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to skip over the leaves real fast.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you about the flowers.
Yeah, that's great.
They're completely pointless. Like, they almost don't even look like anything. I've seen them, and I had to look again because it turns out that was actually the fruit that I was looking at. I almost described the fruit as the flower, because the flowers are kind of just these very small, they almost look like a fern kind of unfurling and not quite getting to unfurled, but that's it. That's the flower.
They have a nice color.
You like them?
The pink?
That's the fruit, Alex. Oh, no. This is the thing.
I made the same mistake.
Yeah, this tree has very little decent, like good botanical descriptions out there. Just really frustrating.
Now I see the flower.
Okay.
Very utility.
It's so utility.
It's so utility that it's like they didn't even take it off the shelf. They like made it from scratch with garbage. You know, they're like, oh, this'll do.
Yeah, whatever. Here you go. Yeah, it just I don't know, pollinate. I don't care. Whatever.
Like you could have bought one at the craft store.
Yeah, instead,
that at least looks like the thing it's supposed to be.
They just took a little ball, they painted it blue, and they said, "That's the Earth." No, it's not. It looks horrible.
That's a baseball.
So it's exactly like that. And so it doesn't really do a lot. They come out from the axils of the leaves, which are kind of that space between the leaf stalk and the actual stem it's attached to.
Interesting.
And it pops out. But the fruit, like you noticed, it is in fact allegedly a brown nut, which tells me that it's actually a nutlet that becomes brown and it's very tiny, so it looks like a seed.
Okay.
An akene might be a very good kind of term for this, which an akene is a hard, non-dehiscent seed, but it has a shell around it. So essentially, it's a little teeny tiny nut where the thing is so small, it looks like a seed, but it is in fact an entire fruit.
Okay.
And then that kind of whitish turned pinkish kind of goo around it.
Yeah.
That is apparently kind of stem tissue or some other kind of tissue around it that kind of gets succulent. And then that is what creates this kind of jelly-like fruit thing.
You see it from a distance. You're like, oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
And then you see it up close, and you're like, "That's brain matter."
Yeah, that's
bad. That's gory.
I had to figure out exactly how I wanted to describe it, but that is it. You've completely nailed it.
It's very graphic. I do not like it. I think what makes it weird is that it's so unique. Like I don't know a lot of fruits that look that way.
Yeah, I mean, neither's the only one.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, oh, I don't know you.
Yeah, I don't know you. You're not my friend.
I don't want to put you in my mouth and go yum yum.
Apparently, though, it is. Apparently, some people say it's edible, but it's just not worth the trouble to try to get it.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's being protected by a mountainous bodyguard.
Exactly. And that leads us, Alex, I think very well to the leaves themselves.
Mountainous bodyguard. That reminds me of Gregor Clegane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was a bodyguard and mountainous.
It's true. All right, Case, well, let's talk about... Are we moving on to the leaf?
It's the time.
Let's
That's what
do
we're
it.
gonna do. So these leaves are big. They're kind of like the size of your hand,
Wow,
maybe
they
a little
really
bit bigger.
are.
And they're very cordate, heart-shaped.
Yep.
They got everything you could imagine, and
Very Catalpa-esque.
Yes, I think so. That's very fair. And the thing about them is that when they're young, kind of in the shade, they tend to develop these big serrations. So I've seen some where the leaves are distinctly, it's called dentate, which means they have like triangular serrations along the edge.
Tooth length?
Yes, but like teeth the way like a child would draw teeth.
Sure,
just
like
a bunch
shark
of
teeth.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Wow, cool.
Yeah. So you also, that is etymologically connected. Dent,
Yes,
all that stuff.
yeah.
Dentate. So it is teeth-like on the edge, but serrated is usually what people expect, but that's when the serrations are like angled towards the tip of the leaf.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a little bit more, it looks like, a blade as opposed to just these, teeth like shark's teeth, like you described, going straight up. So that's what it looks like sometimes. But then I've also seen other photos where it shows it explicitly as entire margins, where the margins have no serrations on the sides at all.
Okay.
They're just perfect. But that, it makes me wonder. I'm like, okay, are these really the same tree? But then everything I could find said, yes, this is the same tree.
Interesting.
It had these weird pink fruits on top. So I'm like, okay, this is it. So it has apparently these two kinds of leaves.
It reminds me of like sassafras.
Yeah, totally.
Just like they will grow in one of these three patterns. We don't know why.
Yeah, we don't know why. Every now and then it'll make a decision and then it sticks with it.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I think you're probably spot on. But the real thing, the thing that everyone is actually curious about is what is covering each of these leaves.
Now, there's a great macro photograph.
Yeah.
Super close up.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty wild.
It's pretty wild. I took that from one of the articles that we have in the show notes, and that is actually even closer than a macro. That is, I believe, like an electron micrograph.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that is like
Cool.
a super intensely close electron microscope image, to my understanding. And then they just kind of paint it, add color to it to make it look like what they're trying to show.
I see.
And it shows a bunch of different species. You'll notice that on the bottom of each one of these photos, it says a name of a plant. The very top left one, number A, is Urtica dioica, or Urtica, the classic stinging nettle. Very closely related to this tree, which has almost the same type of trichome, which is a teeny tiny little hair that covers the entire leaf surface and all of the smaller twigs. It goes away with the bigger kind of stems and when the bark starts to get a little bit more developed. But those little teeny tiny spike-like hairs cover the entire leaf from start to finish, and it looks like this kind of fuzzy hair on the top of it.
Ooh, that's cursed fuzzy hair. You do not want to go rubbing your face on that.
It absolutely is, and I have heard stories, Alex, of people who, I don't know if I could quite say rubbed their face on it, but their face somehow came in direct contact in a rubbing sort of fashion.
Oh, no.
With these things, and it was bad.
No.
Like, really, really bad.
Okay, well, now you have to answer my previous question.
Okay.
Does this just poke you, or does this give you some sort of, does this poke you and then squirt a little bit of toxin inside you?
It does the latter. It squirts a little bit of toxin inside of you.
That's really unfortunate.
It is, and these are some of the descriptions where one person, his name says, I believe his name is Ernie Ryder, will never forget the day in 1963 that he was slapped in the face, arms, and chest by a stinging tree, which I should note is also named, there's a couple different plants. This one, because it's gigantic, they call it the giant stinging tree. And there's another one that is called I think it's the mulberry stinging tree, or the mulberry leaf one, which is Dendroctonides. I love that you
Nice.
said that.
Oh.
Morites. So another Greek term. Everything here is
Wow.
Greek now. This is apparently the worst of them. And I think that's what this guy ended up getting. He says, quote, I remember it feeling like there were giant hands trying to squash my chest. For 2 or 3 days, the pain was almost unbearable. I couldn't work or sleep. Then it was pretty bad pain for another fortnight or so. The stinging persisted for 2 years.
Shut up.
And reoccurred every time I had a cold shower.
Are you kidding?
No, this is what's famous about this tree. One of the articles that we have that has been looked to or kind of added to a lot is once stung, never forgotten.
Oh my God.
And it's not just that you won't forget because it was so bad, but you won't forget because it will keep coming back for years, for months sometimes.
Wild.
Isn't that just like the craziest thing you've ever heard of?
So what exactly is it injecting into you?
It's a great question. I'm so glad you asked, Alex.
Wow.
So, Alex, they are injecting a bunch of different things. It's like a weird cocktail.
Ooh.
So one of them,
So much worse
you don't like
than if it were just one thing, you know?
Yeah, they can't just be like, here's formic acid.
Here's my special poison I made.
Yeah, you can see it like, in it with a cauldron just stirring up all these things.
So sinister.
Yeah, it really is.
All right.
And it injects histamines, acetylcholine, and formic acid.
Now, I don't know what histamines are, but I know what antihistamines are.
Yes, which are the things that stop you from itching.
Yes.
Yes.
So histamines must make you itch.
You got it. There you go. You know what? We can do anything, Alex, you and me together.
It also injects biotics. Huh, what are those?
Interesting. Yeah, it does. So it does all that. But this is the thing. Everyone was like, that doesn't explain it. Like so many different plants produce this same kind of thing. So many, like all sorts of stuff do this. There's got to be something else that makes it last so long and be so painful.
And that's the other two things?
That is the other two things, which is some kind of neurotoxin, which is a really interesting thing. It's like this little mini protein that they call gimpiotides.
Whoa.
Gimpiotides, something like that. So I was saying the other name for this is the gimpy. That's the shrub, and it's named after a place, which is an indigenous name. So as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, that's a bad name for something. Yeah. But apparently it doesn't have the same kind of etymological background that gimp would if it was used up here.
Okay, well, sure, yeah.
So this is the gimpy. So they called this neurotoxin they found gimpiotides.
Okay.
Then there's another one that they found from the other tree that looks like the mulberry, which is like moriatides. So again, just based off the specific epithet, this is based off of the true name for the morus, which is the mulberry. There's all sorts of etymology things that are going on in the background. But the matter of the fact is, they are neurotoxins.
Okay.
Which means that this is not a tree that is poisonous. This tree is venomous.
Oh.
Do you know the difference between the two?
No.
I always forget, but I love how you're like, well, this is important. This is huge.
Maybe venom is worse and it like attacks your nerves or something.
Not quite. But yes, I mean, it does, but that's not the difference.
Okay.
So the difference was very simple. I had to look it up, and it has this thing called Ronald's Rule. And I don't know if this is like a guy named Ronald who's just came up with the rule, or if it's like, I wrote down this rule, and someone's like, Ronald's Rule. We're going to stick with that.
It's weirdly Ronald McDonald, the clown.
It is, yeah. So Ronald's
Never
Rule.
put poison in the burgers. That's my rule.
Well, I got bad news for you, Ron. So the rule is, if you bite it and you die, it's poison. Okay. But if it bites you and you die, it's venom.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So venomous snakes.
Yes. It will bite you, and then that will inject the venom.
I see.
But if you eat the snake, maybe you don't get the venom. I don't know.
Oh, sure.
Something
yeah.
like
Okay.
that.
If you eat the snake's fangs.
Yeah. You eat a poisonous thing, or you eat a thing and it kills you. Poisonous.
Poison.
If something bites you and you die from that bite, it is venom. Venom. Yes.
Okay.
So this is a venomous tree because you could technically, and people do this with nettles all the time, you could eat nettles. It's like a huge thing. All you got to do is cook them down a little bit, and it breaks down those all the neurotoxins and all the things in it, and you can just have like a nettle salad. It's a big thing in springtime.
Yeah, totally.
All over the place.
Mm-hmm. Big in Portland restaurants.
Yeah, totally. And apparently it's very good. I think I've never had it, but you know, I'm not against trying it. It just never has come on my plate.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever. So in this case, you're just walking by and you rub onto these leaves and these little trichomes destroy you. And here's an interesting thing about how they work.
Wow.
They're not just a hair that just kind of happens to be sitting there waiting to just poke you. Mm-hmm. And the poke is not what hurts. If you ever get a shot, it's a very teeny tiny needle, right? Mm-hmm. And it is hollow and it puts the stuff in you. What hurts really is the injection of the stuff that kind of goes into a space that has no space in it, you know?
Sure.
So it's just uncomfortable. With this, the actual hairs, the trichomes, are so tiny that you really don't feel them in terms of the mechanical pain.
Like they slip in between the cells.
Yeah, almost literally. They're so teeny tiny, like microns, like miniature microns. Like it's so minuscule. You can't really even see them until you look so close with a little magnifying glass or something. So this is really where the ingenuity of these plants comes in. So what happens is these are these one single cells that are elongated. You have the epidermis, and then all at once, this one cell just kind of starts to grow upright, and it starts to biomineralize.
Wow.
Which is great.
So much fun stuff happening.
Alex, I believe you outright.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I'm a little low energy, but I am interested.
Okay, good. I'm glad you were just like, wow, that's so interesting. Oh my God.
I gotta send a text. What'd you say? Biomineralize?
Biomineralize.
What the hell is that?
It means that it actually creates a mineralization process through biological means.
So it like hardens?
Exactly. It hardens with silica and calcium phosphate or calcium carbonate.
Okay.
Which are like hard minerals.
That it gets from
the
water
soil.
in the soil?
Yeah, exactly. They're dissolved in the soil.
Oh my
pulls it up,
God.
And it actually takes, like, silica is like dirt. So like you go outside and you put your hands in mineral soil. That's usually like 90% silica.
Man,
Don't fact check me on that, anybody.
I love getting out there. Just getting my hands in the silica.
I knew you did. Yeah, you really. I knew you're a silica boy.
Okay, so it like lignifies a single cell on the surface of its leaf.
Yeah, well, not even lignified, because lignin is a different protein. This is like taking rocks.
I'm making a comparison.
Okay, all right. Okay, just making sure.
It's not literal. It hardens a single cell on its surface.
Correct.
And kind of like turns it into a little spire.
Yeah, it grows up as a spire and hardens as it goes up.
Wow.
Yeah. And here's the other thing.
Me too.
Oh, wow. Okay. Are you a polypeptide or what?
Is that a polypeptide in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Ow! Oh God, it is in my pocket. That hurts. I'm not happy to see anyone.
It's
my finger
stinging nettle
My
leaf.
finger burns like I just got stung by 30 wasps.
Okay.
Which is, I didn't make that up. That's another description that people have given.
Oh, no.
Other people have
so
said
bad.
it feels like they just grabbed a hot coal.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and then they can't sleep for days. There's an account.
It's like, think of the most painful thing
Yes.
you could possibly imagine. That's what it feels like.
Yes.
Wow.
It is, one guy described it. He was getting ready in World War II. They were like, training out in this area. Mm-hmm. And they got stung by it. And it was in such pain that they had to strap him down to a gurney for 3 weeks before he could not go crazy.
That's hell.
Yeah, it's apparently so bad that another I think it was a captain, some lieutenant, another officer used some for toilet paper and ended up shooting himself.
What the fuck?
Yes, this is an account. These are real stories from Australia, ladies and gentlemen. It's an amazing place, and I need to go.
I have a rich, deep storytelling tradition down there. Kath and Kim, and then the guy who had to shoot himself because he was in too much pain.
Yeah, because he used a stinging nettle leaf.
Toilet paper.
Awful. Could you imagine that?
Crazy.
Imagine having whatever parts you have between your legs, taking 30 wasps and having them all sting it for 3 weeks.
I don't blame him for what he did.
No one can.
That's awful.
So anyway, here's the thing that makes this truly diabolical. It's not just some happenstance like, oh, well, some trees do, and it affects everything, whatever. This is designed by the plant to do exactly this, and it affects mammals. It does not really affect birds.
Oh, wow.
And it doesn't really affect insects. So, well, I'm sure it does, but most insects are just small enough they can just kind of avoid it. In fact, these leaves, most pictures you see, they are just completely filled with holes because a particular beetle, like some different species and some very specific trees have one species. They just go crazy and they just eat the leaves entirely.
Interesting.
So the leaves are apparently very good. There's another insect.
But hold on. This only affects mammals?
Yes.
Okay.
Except, I should say, the red-legged patamelon, which we'll talk about in a second.
Oh, wow.
It's adorable and it's worth looking up. Just
What
to be
fun.
like, oh.
I can't wait.
So here's how it works. They have a very long pointed tip. Like imagine a spine, like a thorn. And it just goes up as a very tall, skinny cone until the very tip, which is super sharp. In this case, it's not actually super, super duper sharp. It is in comparison to literally everything else on the planet. But in the microscopic level, it gets up to this teeny tiny point.
I've seen this.
And then it ends up creating a larger bump on the top.
Yeah.
And then it nods over ever so slightly. So it kind of looks like a body with no arms that just kind of moves up with a head tilted off to the side, just nodded.
Looks like a knitting needle.
Yes,
like the pole hook.
Oh,
one.
yes, for like crocheting. Yes.
Yeah.
It looks very
crochet.
similar.
Yeah.
So that little bit right there.
Is it, can I guess?
Yes.
Is it just full of toxin?
The whole thing is hollow, filled with toxins. Yeah.
Okay. But that bit does it act like a barb and an arrow where it's like, it kind of grabs on like Velcro, it grabs onto
Yes,
you?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes. I don't think it really stays in too hard, but if you itch it and cause a lot of trouble, apparently it can. Ooh. Like you can't get them out sometimes.
Oh, God.
So you have to figure out how to do that. How? I don't know exactly how to do it.
Okay.
I have not found that on here.
What were you going to say?
The top where it goes up and gets really skinny, then gets wider with this big ball on top.
Yeah.
That little section, one side is very thin, the other side is very thick. So it makes it almost rigid in every way. So as soon as that little bit goes into your skin, it breaks off immediately. Like that is what it's designed to do.
Oh, I see.
Is break off as soon as it lodges into whatever it's lodging itself into.
It has like a failure point built in.
Designed. They call it preformed.
Oh my God.
And then as soon as that happens, it spills out all of its horrible stuff. And apparently the neurotoxin permanently, or at least I should say semi-permanently, because it goes away after, 2 years. It messes with and destroys the sodium receptors of some kind inside this. And that I could not follow when it's getting really intense. That's what's happening here. Yeah. But for those of you who are way better at this than I am, go check out all the articles that we have, and it talks in depth about this. But it's designed to break off, release all of its poison, and then it permanently damages these sodium receptors, which is what really causes the pain. It's not the actual puncture in a mechanical sense.
Sure.
It's unperceptible most of the time.
Sodium receptors.
Yeah. So those are salt, essentially. Things inside your body that take sodium, specifically your skin.
So did they dehydrate you or something?
I honestly don't know. Okay. I haven't found anything that leads towards that. Some other person who knows, body things would have to be the expert there.
But that is that is on such a microscopic level that that is so much scarier than getting bitten by a snake where you can suck the poison out. You can have physical contact with it.
Yeah.
But this is deep in, this is the call is coming from inside the house. It's so deep that you cannot get to it.
Is that crazy?
And if you itch it, it'll make it so much fucking worse because it's going to break up all those little things. And
and you don't know if you can get them out properly.
Wow. I would think that Australian scientists and chemists are sort of at the forefront of poison technology. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
They're living down there on the front lines.
Yeah, they're like, well, we got to figure this out or we're going to have way too many people dying from the nature around us that we live in.
That is truly something. This might be the worst tree we've ever talked about.
It's a vicious one.
The unhealthiest tree.
But also it's 110 feet tall.
That's the freaky part.
Isn't that crazy?
Is that it's so big and there's so many tree. Of these leaves on one.
And they also are not just like a rare tree where it's like, oh, we'll walk around that. Like they grow like cottonwoods. They just, wherever they happen to get a spot, they're like, oh, here we go. I'm going to grow.
And it's not like, oh, honey, don't touch that. That'll make you itch for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
It's like, don't touch that. It'll make you kill yourself because it hurts so bad.
It's awful. And apparently, like even when like you have to wear respirators when you're working on it and like welding gloves. God. And one of the researchers,
respirators because you could inhale the.
Yes,
that is so fucked up.
I think so. And this is what I've heard, but I haven't actually seen that happen. And I have not seen them become like aerolized, where like you, that's not the term exactly, but I haven't seen them going into your lungs because like you walk through and now there's like this stuff in the air.
Yeah.
But I think that like it's so bad to the point where everyone's like, don't even take the chance.
Just to be safe.
Put this thing over your mouth.
Wear a
so
fucking
you don't
hazmat suit.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, even more than that, because this will go straight through a hazmat suit.
How about medieval plate armor?
Now we're talking.
And chainmail.
Yeah, and then all the people who are like native to Australia, all the Aboriginal peoples are like, well, we learned to live with this.
Yeah.
We didn't have all those gloves. We just learned our plants and walked around it.
Yeah, I just didn't touch it.
Yeah.
That's a good solution.
It's a crazy thing. And it's apparently like not very much used for anything. The wood decays quickly. So like it's a tree that I think everyone is like kind of universally like, why are you here? Why are you doing this to us?
It's good that you compared it to wasps, right?
Yeah.
Or you the pain to a wasp. Because as far as I know, have you seen that meme that's like, this is a wasp? It doesn't contribute to anything. It doesn't make anything. It doesn't produce, it only destroys. Like it just exists to fuck you. To fuck you up.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm feeling like this tree, we can't use the wood. Like we can't really eat much off of it, if anything.
I don't think anything, honestly.
And they're really tall and they grow everywhere, and their leaves, it's not like, ooh, don't touch that part. That's a little small part, don't touch it. It's like the leaf is as big as your head.
It's huge, yeah. I hear you.
It exists to create pain. Wow. Well, this tree deserves a rating.
It sure does.
I'm really excited. We got to do this after a break. We'll be right back with Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. That was our discussion of the, quite frankly, insane giant stinging tree.
Yeah.
It's a good name for it.
It is.
They kind of nailed it.
Yeah. Hey, what is that? What do you call that one? Oh, you mean that giant stingy tree? We call it the giant stinging tree.
We were going to come up with something else later, but we ran out of time.
We ran out of time. Dendrocnidae.
Yeah.
Excelsior.
It's pretty cool.
It's a great name.
Casey, let's give this tree a rating. And here's how it works. We're going to give some final thoughts on it and then give it a rating of 0 to 10 golden cones of honor. Mm-hmm. Wow. Casey, as our resident expert, we'll begin with you.
Well, so as I was saying about that wasp thing, Alex, I am not one to believe that the existence of anything is a problem for anything else. Yes, it's not great, but there's a cycle and a balance, you know? For anything that is good, there has to be something that's bad, because good is a comparative term. We can't even have it without the other thing.
Okay, Socrates.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Moving on.
Now you give your rating? No, sorry, whatever, Casey. So what I think about this tree...
You start your review with, for there to be a moral good, there must be a moral bad.
Yeah, And I kind of dig this tree for being that, you know? There's this idea that the world is made for humans, right? Like this is an old biblical idea. And I kind of like it when a tree comes around who's just like, go fuck yourselves.
Totally.
You want to use my wood? Poof, I'm going to turn to dust.
I deserve this space as much as you do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, it's like a tree that says, I'm not going to pander to you assholes.
Yeah.
I'm going to do whatever I want. Also, come at me. And then when we do, it just showers us with horrible, stinging, like nettle leaves.
Yeah.
And I think that's so, like, there's a part of me that just like, I'm just so tickled by this tree just being like the bane of everyone's existence. And with Australia's famous like fauna that is destructive and scary and like, oh, don't buy bananas from Australia. There's wandering spiders in there.
Is that true?
I've heard about it, but I think it's from South America. I think that I dig this tree for that reason. I like that it's just like, nah, baby, I'm going to slap you with fiery wasp stings if you come near me. And then, you know, we can cut it down and then the tree will just be like, great, whatever. I don't live that long anyway. Look, there's 16 million of me over there.
Totally.
I just kind of dig that. This tree kind of just seems like it gives everyone the middle finger and says, I'm not a part of your system.
Man.
So for that, I give it a 7.9.
Okay.
Just a rad ass tree.
Hell yeah.
I just think it's great. I'm tickled to even think about it.
Yeah.
Right now.
Wonderful. 7.9?
7.9.
Okay.
It's too high. Anything less, I feel like I kind of would threaten it a little bit, and I don't want to. I don't want to go down that.
You don't
path.
want to be on this tree shit list. That's
exactly.
for sure.
It just grows up in your backyard, comes through your window.
You're scratching at your screen door.
A cat walks by, immediately gets destroyed by it.
Oh. 7.9 Golden Cones of Honor. Great score, Case.
Yeah. What do you think, Alex? I'm very curious.
Well, earlier, I think we had a bit of a miscommunication.
Oh.
Because I said that meme of wasps, like they don't give anything to blah blah blah. They just exist to destroy.
Yeah.
Now I think you maybe heard that and thought that I was saying that's a bad thing.
Oh.
I think it's a great thing.
This is not what I expected.
I love a little bit of anarchy. This tree is a Molotov cocktail wielding son of a bitch. It will fuck you up for even brushing up against it. You're going to be in 3 years of pain. Like, that's incredible.
It's insane.
And it also,
it's a Joker, I think. It feels like a Joker of a tree.
Oh, wow. He just loves chaos. Mm-hmm. You know, he plants bombs under bridges or something. You know what's also really interesting, Casey? It's not like, so a snake that bites you with venom, the snake has to like output energy to like, I'm going to attack this thing. I'm afraid, right? Mm-hmm, I'm defending myself.
This is my time to defend myself, and I'll use it with my teeth.
Yes, and there's like another animal squaring off with me. I'm going to bite it and use my defense mechanism. And then after it bites you, it like squirrels back into its little hole and like curls up and is like, oh, that was scary.
But yeah, it's more afraid than you are.
Sure.
Classically.
But it's also using a lot of energy to like, and that was an experience for it.
Yes, yeah.
This tree can just exist and stand there.
Yeah.
And it can fuck you up for years by not it attacking you, by you brushing up against it briefly.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
The tree's like, huh?
Yeah, it has to do nothing.
Okay.
It's such an effective warrior. And I think if you know, you mentioned I'm reading A Song of Ice and Fire right now.
I heard there was a dream once in a Targaryens.
Yes.
Okay, anyway.
He had a dream of ice attacking fire or something. But the whites and the others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The ice people and the zombies.
Yeah.
You know, you it's like you kill one, it's like this huge thing, right?
Yeah.
But it just like, it doesn't care. And there's just like a million more right over there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, chop this tree down. So I was gonna keel over tomorrow anyway. And by the way, I've got 16 cousins growing up in my basal region.
In my basal region.
I just think that's so cool. This tree is amazing. I have to give it a 9.0.
Whoa, a 9.0.
It's true. The only thing that would bring it to a 10, Casey.
The only thing? There's only one thing that it's missing?
One thing that it's missing.
If it made a mango.
If it made some sort of delicious tropical fruit.
It's always how it is.
Why doesn't it? Why can't it? Come on.
I completely agree. There's a tree that I wrote about in my book. I can't remember which one it is, but I think I said something like that. I was like, if this tree made a delicious fruit, I think everyone would agree it's the perfect tree.
It just needs that, and then it's got like the kind of this like bad boy image. Like he's like a 90s, you know, bully from a movie. Like he's really cute. He's a heartthrob, but
obviously
he'll stuff you into your locker and put you in terrible pain.
And he's not going to care. Not even close to care.
No. An incredible tree. I love it to death. Maybe literally someday.
Alex, no. Just dives into a whole grove of them.
Yeah, well, that was our review of this giant stinging tree.
I did not think that you were going to do that. Thought it was going to be worse.
There you go. Casey.
What do we got next?
It's time for our completely arbitrary AMA.
I love AMAs. In fact, I'm doing one today, baby.
That's right. If you were listening to this yesterday, we did a live stream.
Yeah, and hopefully you were there. And if you want to see another live stream, you got to get on our. You got to get on Treemium.
Yep,
that's where it happens.
Become a Treemium member. arbitrarypod.supercast.com. And if you want to ask us a question on the podcast, which is what's about to happen, you also need to be a Treemium member, and it's good fun. You can support the podcast and get cool things in return. This week, we got one from Nerd in Space.
What up, Nerd in Space?
Nerd in Space says, Pando, you're familiar, the giant quaking aspen hydra monstrosity, is like identical conjoined twins.
Is like identical? Okay, sure.
Same DNA, technically the same organism, but still individuals. In conclusion, Pando trees are conjoined siblings. Now, there was no question in this, but it does seem like a bit of a challenge. Like, here's what I think.
Yeah. What do I think about this idea? Okay, so first off, I need to ask a few clarifying questions.
Go ahead.
Conjoined twins. They are twins that are conjoined, correct?
I don't know anything about that.
Alex, I'm asking you these questions. I need answers.
I can ask ChatGPT.
You will not ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not a paid member of this podcast.
Yes.
Yes.
Identical twins have nearly the same DNA because they originate from a single fertilized egg that splits into two embryos.
Wow. Holy heck. Okay. So, this complicates it because I think yes, but this is the thing that we've talked about a few times, Alex. The idea of individual versus not individual. And we just talked yesterday with Christian Schwarz, who is one of two authors who just wrote a book about mushrooms that you're going to hear a lot about next month.
Yeah.
And that conversation went off into this idea of what is an individual versus what is not an individual.
Oh, interesting.
In regards to mushrooms.
Sure. The mycorrhizal network. One thing or many things.
Exactly. Next week on Completely Arbitrary.
Cool.
Fascinating stuff.
Tonight at 9.
Tonight at 9. Well, no, sorry. 5:30.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, 5:30. That'd be so good.
Yesterday. We already talked about this.
Yesterday, 5:30. We won't see you there unless we did.
We're not sure what we're talking about tonight at 9, but we're going to figure it out before we do it.
Goom, goom. So anyway, okay. So I think that having the like two organisms that have the same DNA, like they're twins, they walk upright, they talk differently, they can be in two places at once, they are different individuals.
Yes.
But if we go by genes, genetics, they're the same.
Right. Well, they're like spiritually, they're two different. I think that's the key thing.
Yeah, but also physically. Like,
well, yes. Well,
you can throw one on a boat and take them over to Europe, and the other can be right here in North America, and they can both exist as two separate beings.
But are they two separate beings, Casey?
That's the question. They gotta be. They have to be because they are as separate as you and me.
And twins always say like they have this like they always feel like this tether, like they know when their twin is in trouble.
Yeah,
like Lassie,
which is weird because that's some quantum entanglement stuff going on there.
That's
fascinating.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, wouldn't that be kind of interesting? You just put two twins over and they can just think something. You have instant, like literally instant communication. So I think that this is a question of. It's what is your philosophy, you know? Like
sure, yeah.
If the
it
Hydra,
is a philosophical question.
Yeah, I mean it's multiple stems. So fundamentally, what Nerd has specifically noted is correct. Like this is all connected underneath the ground. It's genetically and physically one thing, like one individual that is discrete, where we could conceivably pick up the entire group of them and we could shake off all the soil and everything that's around it. And we could say, here it is. This is one distinct unit of cells that are all genetically precisely the same.
And if you look at it like almost like I'm imagining like in a 3D modeling software, the whole thing, the very top left corner is connected unbroken to the very bottom right corner.
Yes, you could get there with a little tracing, right? Yes, that's exactly right. But in the reality, when we put them back into their normal area, you go walk out to that forest right now and you say, what color are these beautiful leaves? Because it's probably gorgeous right now. And you see one stem. And then you walk 100 yards and you see another stem. And you think to yourself, these are two different trees. I think you're also accurate.
Yeah.
So it's both at once. It's an issue for me because then what if you take one of those stems and you cut it and you disconnect it from the rest of its crew? And you take it and you plant it 40 miles away and it grows. Now you have two individuals like our twins with the same DNA that have now been moved to other sides of space.
Yeah.
Now, are those still the same things or are they new individuals?
That's interesting.
This is another conversation that we've brought up talking about layering, where you have a spruce tree that has a branch that goes down, and this is common in high alpine trees, and they essentially make shrubby layers underneath the snow that will put in roots at the base. And then that's just called layering, where it kind of layers itself and grows outright. Old Chico, that weird Norway spruce that we covered years ago is like one of the oldest trees. It's like supposed to be 10,000 years old.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just like a small mat that every now and then would send up a shoot, and then that shoot would die because it gets too cold, so it would send it up again, and it would just kind of grow like that for 10,000 years.
Oh.
It was a similar idea, but imagine you have a full tree that sends out a branch, and that branch puts in roots and then starts to grow like its own self. Then the top portion of the tree dies, and then that other portion is now unconnected to anything else. It's because the rest of it's dead and decayed away, but it grows back up. Is that a new individual, or is that the same individual just repeating itself?
And the reproduction is clonal.
Yes.
It's not like they're making babies.
Exactly. This is vegetative clonal reproduction,
Okay.
not sexual reproduction.
Right.
We have these two different genes that are coming together.
Right. This is one set of genes creating another of itself.
Precisely.
I don't know, Case.
I don't know.
It was more fun when I could just be silly. Now that we've actually introduced all the ideas, I'm like, I don't care.
Okay, this is too much for me now. No, I think you're in a good spot though. I think this is it's a very interesting like concept.
Yeah.
To think about like the nature of reality when you start to really like, I don't know, push on it a little bit and you're like, okay, what is a single thing?
Right.
The way we conceive of it. Because as soon as we start to apply that to other organisms, and we're not even going to get into mushrooms, like I said, it's almost impossible to like say this is accurate and it fits our mold, our archetype.
I think that's what it comes down to for me. It's like science is all about, and as it should be, is all about like rules.
Yeah.
Right? And like definitions and categories, right? And subcategories. And nature is like so weird and wild and varied, and like science is a human-made thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we invented science in order to explain what's happening in the natural world.
Yeah.
It's not like we invented the laws of physics.
No, yeah.
Like they existed.
They existed, we observed them and started to make conclusions based off those observations.
Yes. And now we call all that shit physics.
Yes,
right?
correct.
So I think the same, I feel like this, maybe somebody who knows more is rolling their eyes and laughing at me, but
No, they don't listen to our podcast.
I don't know who that's a burn on.
Yeah, I don't know
guess kind of
either.
everybody.
Everyone's like, wait, I'm listening. That's me. Sorry. Nice. That's a universal burn. I feel burned.
Good job. But you know what I mean? I just think like maybe well, I guess essentially what I'm saying, this is a bad question. I don't think we should be talking about it.
Nerd in Space, we love this question. Look at the controversy.
Because it just leads to war and chaos.
It's just chaos. I think that's it. It's chaos, and we have to come up with a new way to define an individual or throw it out entirely.
There you go.
Great question.
Great question. Thank you so much. And if you've got a question for us, as I said, support the podcast at arbortrarypod.supercast.com. That's ARBORTRARY pod.supercast.com. Check out our merch store, arbortrarypod.com/merch, or Hey, tell your friends. That's a great way to support the podcast.
Yeah, it's true. Tell your friends. Go on to the apps and say how much you love it and give it 5 stars, or 4, or 3, or 2, or 1. However your true opinion. We're not gonna pander here.
Only 5's only.
Yeah, okay, only 5.
I kind of want to make that a rule. You can only leave us a review if it's a 5.
Yeah, okay.
What's the point of leaving a 1-star review for anything, by the way?
To let everyone know how bad it sucks.
But that's your opinion.
Exactly.
I don't like your opinion.
Your opinion is dumb. All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
All right, everybody. 5's only, and we love you. Thanks so much for listening. And hey, we'll see you for another TRL next week.
Yes, we sure will. And it's going to be really great. I'm excited for next week's stream.
I'm very excited too, Casey. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Completely Arbortrary. Hey, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Completely Arbortrary is produced by Alex Crowson and Casey Clapp. Our artwork is by Jillian Barthold, and our music is by Aves and the Mini Vandals. If you want to support this podcast and become a Treemium member, head over to arbitrarypod.supercast.com. Thanks for listening.